And before I get started, I know I in this episode I think I'm saying his name wrong, but it's Zay France. Um, and he'll definitely be someone to listen to. Um, he'll definitely be someone to listen to in R&B. I think there is a kind of shift in R&B lately where they're actually putting the newer generation in their songs and migrating them slowly into R&B so that they'll break the mainstream because R&B is so exclusive. So I do say this, and not all of these are bad, but not all of these are bad, not all of these are great. But I did want to clarify that just in case I messed the name up and somebody got offended. But Trippie Redd is also on this uh album too, which I think is great. But to hear my full thought. So I think it's abundantly clear that I'm a huge kind of Neo fan, and I was wondering where these songs would traditionally come to hand in, right? Because we were wondering where was Neo's direction when we heard "Stay Down," "What If," and "Don't Love Me," which I think are Neo's isn't necessarily a Neo bad is one of Neo's worst three songs, right? But we were wondering what was Neo's direction when he decided to create this album called Self-Explanatory, which I think we get bits and pieces of. I think we get throughout the song we get bits and pieces of why he did it, but can we justify it? Because we've heard most of these songs. So this album is 13 tracks long. We've heard three, maybe four of the five, right? Depending on if you've heard "What If," "Don't Love Me," "Love You Too" with Jeremiah, "Stay Down" featuring Young Blue, and that's really what we were trying to put together. And to me, I wasn't sure until he released the official title of what the album would be, which we finally got was Self-Explanatory, where we get "Lay Down" with Zane France or France. I'm gonna, I, anyway, his most popular song is Zay France or Zay France's song. I probably pronouncing this completely wrong. His popular song is "Leg," which I think he released in 2021. But he's on a song with Neyo called "Laying Down," where Neyo vocally is the like Neyo that I wanted, where he's vocally there. You can hear him take one song and then become the background to it. Where Zay, I haven't heard Zay, I have not really heard a lot from this artist particularly, and I think that is the reason why when you hear him take over this song with words like um "You're in LA and you didn't let me know," or "You didn't let me know you were in LA," um it brings kind of a weird volume to this sound that we've never heard from Neo, where he's just kind of explaining his reasoning, and it's a wonderful thing to listen to. I think it's very rare for us to go, Neo makes weird music. Neo is gonna be Neo, so we don't really have to worry about being um classic Neo or crazier, like a different kind of Neo, where he's gonna talk about love, hate, which Self-Explanatory is basically a love album in a way, where he's gonna talk about why he feels this way about you and why you haven't, um, as Isaiah says, lay low. Because I know you're laying in LA. Like, I know you're in LA, but you haven't told me you're in LA, and when you're in LA, you're mine. So that like clinginess that comes through in a song where I want every time you're in like my city or whatever, I want to make sure you're with me, and that's that could be a good thing or a bad thing. If you don't like clingy people, that's not gonna be a good thing. I mean, but everybody wants to feel loved. And Neyo does that, like that oh my that he is known for doing when he starts off a song. That oh my, it's crazy, and it's very vocally. Like you could hear the notes kind of changing that oh my that Neyo does, which is wonderful. He says that you're outside though. I think he says, but when you're here, um, I just want to introduce you to everybody that's around me, my team. And then I get a call from Zay that you're in LA, and he didn't tell me, which I think is a great way to transition this song into these two different voices to sing in a song. But he says apparently you're outside, and I think that's the best way for Neyo to kind of wrap up this song that we haven't heard from Neyo. Like we haven't heard like a passionate love song in a while. We haven't heard that from Neyo. So laying low is something that I do think it's kind of different to hear from Neyo. The After Party is the next song we're talking about. And the After Party is a kind of song that I think everyone can kind of relate to. If you've ever been in like a long relationship or a long distance relationship or a relationship that just, or something that causes you a lot of stress. It could be a friendship that causes you a lot of stress, and you just want to be able to be free, and you kind of express yourself by meeting with somebody, and not necessarily doing the deed or whatever, but it's just of being able to express yourself with somebody else, which I think is a wonderful idea. And the reason I say that is because he says you say that your man is stressing you out. It's stressing you. So you try to spin as you try to come around me more because he's stressing you out. But he says it's you I want, and that you always the way you watch my back is something that I adore, that I love. Which I think the After Party is kind of like a 2000s R&B song that we've gotten from Neyo, and this R&B is something that is, people say it's repetitive, and we've heard it before, but every artist brings his own story to it. He mentions that your friend wants to get with him, but he's not necessarily, or her closest friend. The reason I say her is because he says your home girl, so we justify that it's one of her friends. Or their friends that's a girl that wants to sleep with Neyo. And it's that kind of, those kind of lines where you can hear Neyo just kind of, where he kind of expresses that these two, even if they're not together, that, they at some point do want to be together. And that's definitely not a crazy idea, but I wouldn't say if you're in a relationship to do it that way. But then it's this "Handle Me Gently" by Neyo, which "Handle Me Gently" by Neyo, I think is definitely a reset from hearing it from Neyo, right? Because we've heard praise songs of the person that they're in a relationship with, and we'll get to those where it's proud of you, or proud of you. He's just saying, "I'm proud of you for being the way you are," and it's just I want to be with you and not anybody else. And he talks about a mistress at one point and proud you. But he says, but she's a real wife. Like, if he was gonna cheat with her, but she's a real wife because, and it's more than a body because she's published, or it's his. Okay, so I'm gonna talk about proud of you. So proud of you, when he says it's more than her body or a public figure or a physical trait of hers. He was just making it clear that, like, his old, she got her wrong. Like, that's the kind of thing that Neyo is. That's what proud of you sounds like to me. It sounds like Neyo's she's got her wrong. Like, it's just because he calls her a queen. It's so endearing. Like, proud of you is a so endearing song because of the way Neyo puts everything together. He says, I can't be anything but proud of you. Just because of what you've accomplished. He at one point it says published, and you're like, oh, so she's made it into an article, a paper, or whatever, like a news station, whatever. But she's known for what she's doing, and he can't be any proud of her for making making those achievements. Which, as I'm saying, like this, like proud of you does remind me of she's got her own. Like it just sounds that way in my ear. It plays that way in my ears, and I don't know why that is. So call me gentle. Handle me gently. Is kind of a thing where he's trying to redeem himself. Where he talks about, I need you to know I'm not playing games. I'm truly for you. I don't want anyone else. I don't want anybody else but you. Basically, it's, I love you. This is all for you, not anyone else. I'm truly here for you this time, and I know I was distant the last time, but I'm gonna try to make improvements. And he says, I want to be better and listen. And sometimes I step in my own way, which I think is his way of saying this time in this relationship, I'm gonna give it a better chance. I'm gonna try to fix those things that you established that you didn't like when I was doing it in the first time we got in a relationship, which I think to me is something that just has to happen in a relationship, because you cannot force a relationship to be one-sided, because if you do, many people are not going to be into that relationship and they're not going to want to stay, and it's a lot of people's thing where they don't realize that they're being distant or cold to their partner, and they're like, well, this is what you would normally try to handle. And for some people that does work, and it's not necessarily for Neyo in a situation where he's just trying to fix that situation with himself. Push Up is a weird song, and I say weird because I didn't expect Trippie Redd to be on a Neyo album, but we have it anyway, where he says, I need you, push up, and I need you. And it's been a while, which Trippie Redd's part is very short, very straight to the point, but they're ad-libs, and I don't expect a lot from Trippie Redd on a Neyo album. I think that's what it is. On a Neyo song and album, I'm not really surprised, but it's not necessarily something I was thinking of. Because if you look at it, you had Neyo, you had Jeremiah, you had Young Blood. I think Trippie Redd was that kind of shock of, oh, I have Trippie Redd on here too. But Neyo also in this song just kind of is kind of basically trying to show his compassion and that he's changing in his relationship. He says, come to the studio, tell me where you want to go. We'll go pick up some food, or we'll go pick up some things, and then I'll get right on the plane and go. Or hop on a plane, which she's just saying, I'll get on the plane and go because I have somewhere else to go, but I just want to spend some time with you, which in hindsight isn't probably a bad thing to do, especially when you're in those kind of relationships. But it does. Every time I listen to Neyo, I gain a different perspective on relationships, and I think that's only because Neyo makes you see the side that most people do not want to see in their relationships of, oh, okay, maybe I was wrong, because maybe this isn't the best way to do it. Maybe this isn't the best way to handle a relationship from, and I think him saying, I'll be around you while I'm doing stuff, but when I have to leave, I will leave, and but I do want to spend that time. The small, and in hindsight, it might just be that the smaller moments do matter. They will always matter. So if we go pick up some food and go, and then I just go handle whatever I had. We pick up food from your favorite spot, and I had to go to, I don't know, a different country or a different place. At least we got to spend that time together before I really had to go, which I think is a great message. And as I said, Neyo has great messages. I'm not sure if they normally make themselves aware and through themselves. I'm not really sure if Neyo's messages are bad messages. I don't think they are. But, when you listen to Neyo, you're like, okay, I'm going to give Neyo a chance. Call Me Up is just Neyo's version of a secret affair or a secret fling, where he says, I can't all, for example, she only wants to do the tango around she only wants me for the tango. But I'm her ex. Basically, their exes. They broke up. They probably broke up recently, and she tried to move on, but the guy she's with now um isn't her ex, because he says but her friend said I wasn't, and he isn't putting it down, as in he isn't putting any effort in any manner that she likes it in. It might just be one field that he's lacking in, but her ex can fill that spot, which we could argue could be a little toxic, and doing it that way, I think they're in a relationship. You have to and this sounds weird, but in a relationship you have to kind of balance each other out, but you also have to listen to each other. And I think this is that more toxic side of not listening or not trying to get your thoughts out there. Kind of weird. He says with that the tango is the only tango with her is great because she's crazy. But it can be a secret because she's doing it all the time, more times than not, because he says she always wants it. And I think that it's weird, definitely, because many people do start affairs or secret relationships that way because they're missing something from their partner. And then if it becomes a constant thing, you're like, we can't hide this if you keep constantly doing this, which I understand that's kind of it. To a lot of people, it will come off as needy. I'm not really sure why, but I know there are some people that consider if you constantly need me for something and you're in a relationship or a certain time or any kind of thing, it comes off as needy, and that is in itself a bad idea to try. But I am aware that it happens. Some people are happy with that. If we keep doing this, he's gonna hate me, or he doesn't notice that you're walking differently. So clearly they must be doing this, like at a certain place. He said they always change their places, but it must be like a certain time of the day where they're doing this, and she's going back to him. She might be limping, or just certain things like that. And he's like, he doesn't realize that, or he doesn't find it a little bit weird. Which, granted, some people don't find a lot of things weird. Some people don't notice the smaller things, and some people do, and they just don't say anything. So I wouldn't recommend this. I would recommend Call Me Up as a song, but I wouldn't recommend doing what Call Me Up is saying. Want It All or Nothing is basically what the title is. That she wants she wants everything. Basically, she wants to be everything or nothing at all. She says, either choose me or lose me, where we spend all this sweet time together and you still haven't decided if you really wanted me or if we're just playing games. And I think that's why he says, and handle me gently, I'm not playing games, which I think these two songs came together around the same time as when he's saying it, because I know, and he says, I know any guy would be lucky to have you, which I think is him being self-aware that in a relationship, and I think this is great. Neyo provides perspective in a relationship that a lot of people do not catch on before it is too late. And with this song, I think that's exactly what he did. He says, I'll do anything. And I'll actually listen, which I think is a great thing, especially when you're in relationships. Please listen. I couldn't do anything but listen. Yeah, listen to your partner. Because most of the times listening can fix a relationship more than anything else. And so listening is key. Listening and communication. But I want it all or nothing. Just so you know, I want all your special attention. And don't slide in my DMs. Don't slide in my DMs. You have my number. Treat me as such, or treat me as a, because people used to see DMs as a way to flirt or try to be sneaky, and I think that's what she's saying. Don't slide in my DMs. They probably have each other's phone numbers, so we're gonna be about it. You're gonna be with me all about it, then be with me with all of it. And No Loot. Finally, and No Loot. The last song on this album. The second to last song on this album, because the last song on this album is Stay Down, and I've talked about that song in like length. And I'll link that in the description. But No Loot is a song where he is literally what he's saying is, if I lost everything, would you be with me? He says, if I lost it all, would you still ride with me? Or would you still love me? Or is it less? Or is this lust? Because the champagne bottles keep filling. And, I think people that earn a certain amount of money, no matter if you're a celebrity, because I know celebrities have felt this way of, am I being used for my flame or my clout with this person, or do they genuinely love me? Which became the idea of groupies, mistresses, and girlfriends, right? Like, and wives. But I think when he says, if I don't have it all, you met me when I had diamonds, but if I lost it, would you still be with me? Are you materialistic, or are you really genuinely in love with me? Which I think a lot of people say, well, money is how you make a relationship thrive. And that's true to a T. I think you can be happy without money to a degree, right? But at some point, you need money to survive, right? And I think what he's saying is, if I lost it all, if I became normal, would you still be in love with me? Now he says, I can't be. Now, to be true, if that is the case, if you're just with me because I have money, I can't be mad, because he understands that, right? Like, the goal of being rich, I think, is in a lot of people's mind, right? Now, how people act when they get rich, you can't really determine that. He says, would you jump ship if this ship became a boat? Which, if this yacht became a small boat because I didn't have a lot of money and I was losing it all, would you still be with me? And I think this is a good question that people tend to ask in relationships, but they tend to ask it a little late. And overall, I cannot explain this album without saying this album is a thinker. Like, if you're an overthinker, this album will make you overthink. But this album has songs for every situation that you're in. Relationship, friendships, they have it all. They have every single last ones. Friends with benefits, they kind of have it all. Now, overall, I do like some songs better than others. When It All is one. No Loot, Stay Down, and Don't Love Me are maybe my top four or five. And overall, these probably are the most impactful to me. But there are songs where these songs will definitely grow on you over time if you are that kind of person. When you need music to grow on you, this is that kind of song. This album overall, I'm giving it a 7. I'm gonna go 8 out of 10. Hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it's a little long,